Welcome to the Dynasty Podcast. We are back. We're on a schedule, a routine after a long delay and a 5 hour marathon review of the divisions. How's it going, my brother, Mr. Ben Ziegler?
Football's back, man. Our team's got to win. So fucking outside of the happy fantasy world, that was either heartbreaking or not. That was nice to see. Um,
Yeah, the Vikes look good, man. I bet on them winning that game, and so at home handled their business. Don't think it's an indictment of the Packers necessarily quite yet, but I think the Vikings are a
Now
good
I
football team.
rewatched that game, and there's a couple things that just like would have swung the game and momentum like heavily either way. It's not just the catch. They did that 4th and 1 stop that we had, and then there's a few times like the Packers weren't shit. Let's just put it that way, even with guys dropping stuff out there. So, I don't, even though we did look awesome and they just decided not to guard Justin Jefferson for some reason. Um, I still think the Packers are way better than people are gonna.
They're going to battle for the division. I
Really.
think. I think surprisingly, I think Detroit's going to play everybody tough, and they're going to beat one of those teams at home. I don't think the Bears are as bad as people thought. I mean, I think they'll be solid. They won't lose games necessarily, and they're gonna play hard and kind of like Detroit. So it's gonna be a fun division to watch. Just kind of good old
Well, the
NFC.
biggest thing on the Bears of why they were like significantly written off outside of them not spending money or getting position players was that their offensive line was projected to be the worst in the league. And I think it graded like top 15. So that's already a win for the Bears. Now it's a rainy day, probably easier to run and stuff like that. But I think like what I was reading was the young guys, the inexperienced guys that they played did really well. So I think that's good news for the Bears.
Well,
Um,
I was obviously excited to get a win. I live in the Bay Area, and my wife's a Niners fan. So, well, I don't think she really gives a fuck that much unless they're winning the Super Bowl, and then everybody around here seems to care. But
California.
yeah, that's California for you. Um, I'm bullish on Fields, man. Like everybody can say he played like shit that game. Like I thought there was a night and day difference of where he's at versus Trey Lance. And I've listened to so many different analysis be like, oh, either one of them look good. Like Fields, he was more poised in the pocket. He escaped more pressures. He used his feet. He made plays when he had to. Like in those conditions, I'll take it against a tough San Francisco defense. So people that are doubting Fields, I think they're wrong. I really do. I think the kid's going to be pretty good, at least a top half quarterback by the time of next year rolls around. So anyway, we didn't have a lot of weapons either, and we'll talk about my boy Mooney and Komet a little bit later in the show. But yeah, good win for the Bears. Good win for the Vikes. Roman got a win for the Eagles, although they almost pissed that down their leg against the Detroit, and then poor Jason. We're not going to bring that up about what happened to Dallas. We could have went 4 for 4 with the Costa Rica boys, but Jason fucked that up. So thanks, Jay. Thanks, Jason. Pick a different team. Bandwagon
Uh,
jumping.
well, um, Cowboys, we could talk about a lot about that, but
So what did you think of the
this
game
is
last night? Let's recap that a little bit because we won't get another chance to do that.
well, it's funny. One of the things I noticed was the same this weekend. These teams that dominate just don't put teams away, and then they ended up losing, man. And the Chargers, well before that injury, like, I mean, Herbert shouldn't have had to be still doing shit. They should have been up so many points. But I
Well, yeah,
mean, to
they
credit, they just
yeah.
weren't. They just weren't. They dominated the game in theory. I think the Derwin James fucking pile drive on Kelsey was unbelievable.
Kelsey seemed
You
rather phased though.
I
Just
mean, I don't give
didn't
a
fumble.
fuck. He's 6'6" and weighs like, he's like a fucking like offensive lineman, and Derwin James just picked him up like a WWF show where the guy is actually letting his weight go.
Yep. Uh-oh, we got a dropper. Well, to continue Ben's thought while he rejoins here. Oh, there he is. You had a little bit of a brain fart on the old connection there, Ben. Um, yeah, I think we can't forget that Keenan Allen didn't play in that game, right? J.C. Jackson was just coming back. I thought, and the Chargers were giving it to him on the road in Arrowhead, which is not an easy place to play. I think the Chargers are a complete football team. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to Herbert with this injury. Man, what a tough kid he is, though. I mean, that one scramble where he couldn't even basically breathe, it looked like, and then comes back and throws a fucking dart to Carter. Um, he's a tough kid, and just really, really a lot of fun to watch him, watch Mahomes do their things. It's just, and they seem to be really good people too, which makes it fun for me. Watching guys like that perform at a high level, and then also seemingly good people on the field. So, yeah, it was interesting. Eckler was a bigger part of the game yesterday. Mike Williams rebounded as well. Obviously, with Allen out, I was surprised that Palmer wasn't more involved. I know you have some shares in him, but they seem to be a little off, even though he had limited targets.
Herbert missed him badly, like a lot. I don't really know why. If they had some like throw it high and I'll get it kind of shit in practice, but like I just noticed he kept sailing it over him. Like
Yeah,
Palmer got targeted, but it was just like really, it was
timing
like
was off.
when, yeah, it was either when he was getting, somebody's getting in the backfield or I don't know. I couldn't tell you, to be honest. It's just I wasn't disappointed that he was getting, I just noticed it's like every time Justin Herbert threw a bad ball, which wasn't often, I was like, it was going to Palmer. But
Yeah. The other thing I noticed too is just like the adjustments that are made at halftime, right? Like, so it's Mike Williams, Mike Williams, Mike Williams, and then obviously they started playing kind of more of a either double Mike Williams or taken away like with two deep or something like that. I'm not exactly sure what they started doing, but everything started coming underneath. Like, then it started being drop downs to Eckler and underneath routes and things of that nature. So it's really crazy. Like, we don't think about it necessarily, like how important that is from a head coach at halftime to go in and make adjustments, because the game definitely shifted in the second half. But to me, the Chargers lost it with a couple of defensive plays that didn't happen, like the Sante Samuel interception drop was huge. I think that might have blew the game, open in the other direction. It was, I mean, hit him right in the hands, and then he had one in the end zone that was basically thrown at the tight end / wide receiver 88 Fortson, I think it is, for the Chiefs. And I mean, that was a bad throw by Mahomes. Like, that should have been picked. Like, there was no loft on it. It was just kind of back shoulder, but they weren't on the same page, and that one almost hit him in the hands too. So either one of those happens, and I think it's a different ball game. So
well, also there's historically bad, not going for fucking on the half-yard line. Kansas City, just I don't give a fuck what the result was. That's just so egregiously bad to do that.
See, I liked it. I'm kind of like, take the points,
Dude,
because well, here's why. I thought about it last night, because if they go up 3, there's still, I think, 8 or 9 minutes left. So then, regardless, you feel comfortable you're going to get the ball back, right? Like, so if you take away nothing there, and then all the Chargers have to do is just milk the clock and get any sort of points to go up, then all the pressure is back on you. Now, if they go back and score a touchdown, you probably got a minute or two to come back and score a touchdown anyway. So, like, I liked it at that stage of the game. If it was the first or second quarter, like, go for it. But, like, to me, to just take the well, that was to tie, right? Or was that to go up? It was to go up, right?
it's the tie.
Oh, it's a tie. Okay. So yeah, that's
No,
what
it was to go. It was to go down by 4, I think.
No, it made it 17-17, right?
Maybe. It just doesn't fucking matter, man. Ladies and gentlemen, you just listened to Andy Reid's explanation for his heinous fucking call that all math and analytics say you just can't fucking do.
Well,
Just
ask the Broncos about
unbelievable.
that though.
Dude, go ask anybody who does math. Period. Sorry, bro.
Yeah, they
Like
must have
you
obviously.
lose games more often by making decisions like that than you win. Okay, cool. It worked out because they kicked a field goal and the score was kind of like around that. But like, you can't, dude, you just can't play like that. Not to mention, like,
So that
I
was in
mean,
the fourth quarter.
well, there was that, and then on the other side of the ball, you throw like a go to Everett. He gets it. He gets dinged up and calls himself off because he's like dinged up or hurt, and he's like barely walking. And he's like, and they're like, no, they make him stay on, and then they run the fucking play to
Yeah,
him that
that
ends
was
up the
awful.
99 pick six. That's coaching, dude.
Yeah,
That's on coaching. That is 100% on coaching, dude.
yeah, that was
That
rough.
fucking coaching staff is fucking
Dude,
what?
he couldn't even
Where's the
keep his
tight ends coach?
mouthpiece in. I don't know if you saw it, but like when
Dude, he was so fucking
he was
hurt. And they're saying,
gassed
oh, dude, he wasn't gassed, man. He fucking got the wind knocked out of him or
or
something, dude.
whatever it
Like,
was, like he couldn't breathe. I mean, it was obvious. Yeah.
dude, I'm telling you, NFL players don't get that fucking tired. He was fucking, he had the wind knocked out of him and he called himself off and then he had to go run another route. And my point is, you're sitting there trying to run this fucking hurry up. At some point, like, where's the tight ends coach in relation to like, where's the communication? You'd be like, hey, the guy you just called the next play for, it's fucking calling himself off. Like, you've
Right.
got to make another decision. So, anyways, like, those are the two coaching decisions I saw that are just like somebody got to get fired. I mean, at the 4th and 1, whatever. It's constantly somehow a narrative, but it's just,
Yeah, I mean,
I'll,
it's interesting. I didn't mind the field goal. It was to tie it at 17-17, puts all the pressure back on, Chargers to go down. If they score, then you still have to score. Like, I don't know. If you're playing from behind, then I think if you don't get that, you probably, hopefully hold them in your side of the field and maybe, you're in control there, but then you're still only going up for a tie, right? So I don't know. I didn't mind it at the time. Like, even though I have a lot of Kansas City offensive players in fantasy in my Yahoo leagues, from a betting perspective, I had Kansas City to win on the money line, and I was happy that they kicked the field goal just to get a tie right there, and then
fine.
see how the
You
defense
shouldn't
played.
be. That's okay.
Yeah, well, whatever. All right, so let's dig
I
into
will
some
bring
of
up
the.
every 4th and 1 that was not taken for the rest of the fucking season, and we'll analyze how fucking terrible it was.
All
Just
right,
because
well,
one worked
and you got to
out, I don't
analyze
think
the
we
ones
should.
that they have gone for on 4th and 1 on the goal line, right? Like, they include two.
Minnesota Vikings set
Okay.
the fucking tone.
Two Bronco fumbles, and then you have a Saquon Barkley 2-point conversion that worked out, right? Like that's kind of the same call, if you ask me. Um, yeah, like that'd be a fun project, Ben. Why don't you do that? Build an Excel spreadsheet for me, and
No,
make sure
you
you
do
keep
that.
track of
You
all
do
that
the
stuff.
Excel.
We'll,
You do the
we'll get high
Excels,
tech.
dude. I'll just rub it in your face when you're wrong.
Yeah, and then kindly forget when it doesn't work out. Like that seems
No,
to
it's
be a
okay. You got one. You got
That seems
one.
to be a theme with everybody in this damn league too, and I'm going to start calling people out. Here's the thing: people do not chat or do anything until something goes in their favor, right? And then all of a sudden they're the big boy in the room, and they want to start talking shit and throw out freaking hallelujahs about all their good shit or takes when they're 1-0 or when they have but then those motherfuckers are silent when they start getting picked on or things aren't working out so well. Here's the deal: be a fucking big boy and participate at all times, and put your face out there and your voice out there when it's negative too, right? Hey, take one on the chin every once in a while. Fucking, you know who you are's. Like that shit's starting to
I don't
drive
know
me
who they
nuts,
are.
man.
Start
I know who
naming
they are
names.
and it's not someone that's Costa Rican, so I don't want to think Frenchy. I'm picking on him. It's not him. I'm just saying, dish it, take it, be a man about it, and relish in your glory and fucking be humble when you get your ass whooped. That's all I'm saying. Moving on. So today we are going to talk
Spoken like
about.
somebody who went 1-0.
I don't care. I wasn't expecting to win. I mean, like it was fun being the
I'm
underdog
caring.
against Georgia, and I mean, like he got beat. Is it Georgia's fault that he got beat? No, I looked at it. He had a lot of bad luck go his way, and like I performed about how I thought I was going to perform. But any given Sunday, you don't want to underestimate your opponent, right, Georgia?
Hey, I beat Wayne. I was happy about that.
I'm like the Detroit Lions this year. Like I'm not going to go away. I'm gonna try to win 7 to 8 games, but probably it's going to catch up to me at some point. Yeah, nice victory over Wayne. Do you want to talk about the Wayne situation quick and your opinions on this $50 draft or this auction bid, or I mean, what's the solution there? Or like any comments on that while we're on Wayne's World?
So the fact that the system allows that to happen is where the broken issue is. You should not be able to, and you
Bid more
haven't
than
been
you
in
made.
the past. You haven't been in the past, so something's fucked up. Fucked up that's allowing somebody to bid on a player with money they don't have.
Hmm.
That is a system error.
Okay.
Okay. And it needs to be retracted. And I don't give a fuck if we want to stick Wayne with a mistake or if he did some stupid shit. The system let him. That doesn't really, like, my point is, like, we should go with the consistency that does always happen in these leagues. Some setting isn't turned on. I don't know what the fuck it is, but you are not supposed to be able to fucking add players with
Yeah,
money you don't have. You haven't been able to. Look, I wasn't able to
it's no different than
in
adding a
other
player
leagues.
if you don't drop a player, right?
Go try and do it in one of the other leagues. You
Right.
can't do it. At least I tried in one of the other leagues, and it says you don't have enough money to for this waiver.
Well, then
So
that
I
should be the
didn't.
solution. He should have been maxed out at whatever the 50 minus whatever he had left. And if he didn't win the bid, then it should have been handled on spot, right? Like
I'm cool with
then
one of two options. Okay, completely negating all of it and and retracting the players and then giving it to whoever had the next bid,
well, that
provided
would have
that
been
it was
me
with
with
enough
because
cap.
hold
Is
on.
this one player or multiple? It sounded like they're talking about
Well,
multiple.
here's the deal. He obviously bid 50 twice on that player. So it wasn't a fat finger. So let's get that out of the way, right? Like then he also bid 44 on a DN. So these are not fat finger bids. These are honest bids that Wayne made, right? Whether he's confused, that's not our problem. The problem is what you're talking about, the system. Now, it shouldn't have happened. Okay. So immediately after that, it should go, okay, let's use common sense here. The max bid he could have made on that player was 13, whatever. So it's 13. If anybody didn't bid more than 13, he's receiving the player. Now, if it was only $4, then I bid five, right? But that has to be happened immediately, not just like a random comment in the message board. It has to be fixed because I tried to add him, then I had to there's no resolution. I'm assuming Wayne's going to get him. So then I need to make another move here. And so I did. I traded away Trey Flowers, who I had originally tried to drop the other cornerback for. So it's like these things have to be put on pause or handled immediately. And the wherewithal, like for like this committee, I think needs to kind of start taking its form here. We can't wait, you know, 48 hours or 24 hours for a resolution. It has to be handled. It has to be handled in
This
a way
doesn't
that
need a
makes sense.
committee. The commission needs to fucking revert it. It's just like, it's not, no, look, it's a problem with the setting.
Right. But it can't
Okay.
be reverted
So,
2 days later.
okay. I don't give a fuck when it's reverted. It should be reverted the second this podcast gets watched. Like, you have to revert it in some way, shape, or form. And I don't care what the resolution, if he goes back to waivers or if you get first choice and say yes or no. I understand. I'm sorry you made other decisions based on this decision not being fast enough. But look, man, the fact of the matter is that doesn't mean we don't fucking at least address the true problem, which is players
True.
should not be able to fucking take on players they don't have the cap for. And this is exactly why. Okay, so get the fucking setting on that's supposed to be on, commish. Find out what it is, why you can't do this with the others. And they're talking about, like, yeah, like I saw somebody saying take away draft pick. What are we talking about, man? Like, it shouldn't be possible.
I agree with
So
you.
why are we even talking about it? Negate it. If you want to turn off his fucking waivers until it's fixed, I don't fucking care what the solution is. Like,
Yep.
turning off his waiver ability for 4 weeks is much more logical than fucking taking draft capital. Because first of all, I don't care if he fat fingered or just didn't think about his cap situation. Like, look, I'm telling you, a lot of people in this league don't even look at cap and they send me trades. I'll tell you that. So fucking whatever. I
No,
just
see,
think
I agree with you, and I don't have the wherewithal or the knowledge. Like, okay, so you're absolutely right. Like, it should cap out at your max. You should be able to bid more dollars than you have.
I think I saw Moose said this. He said like the system shouldn't allow it or shouldn't be allowed to happen. And then I thought about it, I'm like, it doesn't. Like, I know it doesn't in other leagues. You can't just go bid yourself over the cap.
Right. Okay.
I'll give it a try this week.
So let's
Try and
say that
fuck
this
it up in
happens at
another
3 o'clock
league.
when waivers are released. Okay. At 5:07, the commission responds. Which is great. He said you bid $50 on him twice. Like this wasn't a mistake. So at that point, we need to have okay. Here's the resolution, right? Like, so is he stuck with the player? And then because like that's when this was reviewed by the commissioner. It has to be resolved at that time. Because
Yes, it
my
should have
then
been
it,
resolved at
from
that
that
time.
point forward, if he's saying okay, he's stuck with the $50, that's what it is. Even though it's probably not the right decision, he probably should be stuck with whatever cap he had left. Then it needs to go to the next step. Otherwise, people can't make decisions based off of that decision. So to me, it was finalized at 5:07 p.m. on Wednesday because the commissioner said, "No, I checked it. You bid $50 on him twice. You obviously meant to do that. Now you're in a sticky situation." Now, the only thing that can be fixed is going back. Well, okay, so tell me how it go. You can't go back and revert it now,
Cool.
right?
Let's not fix our league. Let's just say, let's let everyone fuck it up. That's a
what I'm
great
saying
solution.
is these things need to be handled, and they need to be handled efficiently and with sound reason, and they have to be thought about. They can't just be passed off with one, a quick thought and then be done, right? Like, because they do impact decisions, right? So what I'm saying is, okay, great job. Commissioner saw the message board. He made a decision. If that's the way we're going to do this, then that's the way it has to be done. Otherwise, I think when things happen like this, the committee should be taking into consideration all the different angles. One person can't think of all the different things. We've tried. You think of something different, I think of something different. Moose thinks of something different. That's the whole fucking point of the committee. When something like this happens, they should all be thinking and they should someone be coming up with a solution. Hey, take pause. Let's take pause on this. Nobody make any transaction for the next hour. We're going to come up with a resolution. If it's not going to be that way, then what's the fucking point of a committee? Just in case someone dies? Like that's not what we've been calling for. We've been calling for a consistent group of people to be making decisions based off the betterment of the league. Like that's what I'm saying. That's what's frustrating me. So I don't know. Maybe we're talking about two different things. I don't want to. I'm not trying to blow Dan's spot up, but it's too much. We've already freaking said that. It's too much for one person that's running 3 other leagues to see every message board post, to see everything. Like to think about it from all different angles. It's too much. It's too much.
So the definitive decision by the commission 3 hours later was to completely fuck over a owner who now can't set a lineup, can't
set a
offer a
lineup.
trade.
Has no draft picks.
I don't even think that matters. It's just okay. So what Dan's gonna set his lineup from now for the next week 1, next 14 weeks.
Or he has to make trades that are detrimental to his team, more than likely, and he seems to be rejecting those, right? So it's like I'm not trying to bail Wayne out. Like, first of all, Wayne, you're kind of a little sneaky there, bud. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like that shit pisses me off too. Like, first you say, it was a fat finger mistake. Then you say it was, I only bid $1. Then you're like, no, I meant 5. Then it's like, oh, I thought it was a fat bid, dude. Like, get your shit together. Sorry.
The fat big might make a sense if he's in a shitload of leagues.
But then why say I bid $1? Then why say I bid at 5? Like, he changed the story.
Because maybe he didn't remember. I'm not defending Wayne because obviously he's the one that got us in this fuck show of a mess. But I'm telling you right now, this fuck show of a mess shouldn't be able to exist. And it doesn't in other leagues. So why wasn't that the fucking conversation from the fucking get-go? Because everyone fucking hates Wayne. That's why. And they wanted to stick it to him.
I don't hate
And they
Wayne.
wanted to do look, man, that fucking general chat is always fucking just pissed off and so bitter about the situation that happened before. Let's call it what it is.
Yeah.
If that fucking happens to you or me, there's going to be a fucking much more fucking defined conversation about that ruling within 3 hours. And it didn't happen. So cool.
Well,
you fucked
Wayne
over a guy
seem
you're
too
sick of
concerned
dealing
about
with.
it either. It's just like he doesn't have any sound arguments. It's just fuck, shit, poop, right? Like, and that stuff's not going to work either. So, like, I don't want to bail Wayne out, but like, it does.
I'm not trying to bail him out either. I'm trying to make our fucking system work. And what we did was just put some stupid emotion and sprinkled it with let's just let it happen again.
Yeah, right.
Fuck
Let's
that.
correct it.
Address the goddamn problem. Why did it happen? It shouldn't happen.
Right.
It's not a rule thing. This isn't a rule thing we have to change. We don't have to fucking vote on whether or not you should be able to go over the fucking cap. That just is a setting that you don't do in other leagues.
Well,
Like,
bottom
you
line is
can't.
something happened that didn't happen, and it should have been corrected immediately.
Correct. So
That's
now
it.
it didn't, and now we have a ruling that, I mean, to me is just egregious because it had no thought process to the system. Sorry, Commission, it just is, man.
It is. I
And
agree.
and
I
it
agree.
wasn't any consulting with anyone or I don't know. He's got to make hard decisions. That's fine. Unfuck your mess then, dude. Like, I don't care what you do, but the solution of just letting Wayne's team take L's the rest of the year is probably not it.
Yeah, and again, I'm going to say, go on record as it's not our job to provide the solutions. That's what the committee was designed for. And all I read in that committee note, to be honest with you, Ben, was the committee is not here to make decisions and review things like in these situations. It's only here if I'm absent or can't do things. The committee should be there to help support the commish, make sure everything's airtight, everything's got sound decisions, and that's not being done. It's not being done. So, like, that's what we need to put to vote or figure out if this is a ruling committee and not just one person, or if it's just the commish with people that he's going to ask opinions from every once in a while and decide whether he's going to do it or not. Like, the ruling body of this league should be more than one person. And that's how I feel. And it should be an odd amount of people. And every decision should be put through the vote between those people first, unless it's a league-wide decision that we're voting on for next year. That's my.
And if you need any other proof of why you are correct, look at this fucking ridiculous mess we're in.
Yeah. And it's for
It should have just been, this is null and void. We'll figure out what the punishment is. Who's the next bidder? Move on. You should not be able to bid money you do not have.
Exactly.
That's so fucking simply logical to me. I can't understand how there was, well, let's just let this happen. And if anybody fucking accidentally bids too much money and can't set a lineup, they can just take L's by their, like systems are designed to make you not do things you shouldn't be able to do. Right? You can't put 54 guys on your roster. You can only have 53. If you do it in a trade, they take your privilege away. Why is this any different? It's not. So
well,
the fact
actually,
that
actually says the same thing, right? Like, you can do it, which I don't think you should, which I've always argued. You shouldn't be able to add 10 people in a trade, but and put you over the roster limit. But that, whatever, it is what it is.
But you can't make a lineup if you do, and it's up to you to kind of make the.
But that's the same position that Wayne's in, right?
Fair enough. You can also make trades to be completely over the cap. So.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, here I've had a sore spot on this whole committee thing for a while, and I'm using this as my opportunity to rant about it. It's nothing personal against Dan. We've already mentioned that several times. It's the fact that there's no transparency on what actually is the ruling body, and I don't like that. I don't like it.
You need to save humans from themselves.
And it seems to me that we're kind of picking and choosing every once in a while how we're ruling. And I do not like that either. And I do not believe that one person that plays in the league should have that kind of power, period. I'm going to move on.
All right. Let's move on.
So the first thing on the agenda, and we actually have an agenda this week, which is we're elevating our game, trying to pick some interesting topics.
Wayne, fuck you. You hijacked our goddamn pod with this bullshit. I'm not letting you off the hook.
Get your shit together, Wayne. Get your shit together, buddy. First topic, because you are such a defensive expert. Everybody in the league agrees. The top 5 surprises on defense, Ben. And not to be confused with your second talking point a little bit later, key stats on defense, including snap counts. So these are 2 separate topics. Top 5 surprises on defense is first, and then we're going to give you a pause and let Corey do one of his topics.
Okay. A lot of stipulations there.
Well, I mean, you saw the agenda beforehand. I'm just laying it out for
I get it. I think maybe I underestimated. So I think of surprise is Frankie Louvu got the green dot on defense for Carolina, which I didn't really think he was going to get that much run. And I thought Shaq Thompson was going to be running that show. So it's kind of a combo of the two. Like Frankie Lou, I think he got hurt, but he looked like he's running that defense, which I kind of really expected Shaq Thompson to do that, and even his snap count was down a little bit, which we can get to later. But I think Frankie Lou, like becoming maybe a guy, was pretty surprising to me. On the good end, right? Like I thought that was pretty awesome. On the bad end, I mean, Denzel Perriman, I don't know how much was due to his injury, but Divine DeBablo got 100%. I think we expected Perriman to be running that defense. It ended up being Diablo, and Perriman like barely played. Like I thought Perriman was going to be 130 tackle guy. Now he still might, but like I know I saw him late in the game. I think he wasn't, he was just splitting time with another guy. So that was a huge disappointment. I don't own him anywhere. So, but like, I'd be really worried about that, that result. Um, Demarcus Lawrence is another one that comes to my mind. Like watching that game, he played like pretty limited snaps, and it's combined with limited production, but it's also his deeper stats on his pass rushing were pretty bad, which is kind of a bummer. I mean, I really thought Demarcus Lawrence was going to recover and possibly. We saw Micah Parsons just get the fuck in there whenever he wanted. I mean, Micah Parsons looks ridiculous.
Yep.
That was to be expected, but I kind of thought that they were going to, like Demarcus Lawrence, they were going to, with the pass rushing of Micah Parsons, that he would probably get free more and probably make an impact. I'm a little worried about our boy there, to be totally honest. Another shocker was Raekwon McMillan getting the start and like playing the most at linebacker for the Patriots, which nothing for should be a surprise for the Patriots, right? Because they're fucking weird. But like for Raekwon McMillan, and I don't know if you know who Raekwon McMillan is, he was a highly drafted linebacker who played a lot of really, really, really bad seasons in Miami. Like I owned him waiting for that guy to be good. He would get like 100% snaps and 2 tackles. This guy was fucking bad. And all of a sudden he's like the dude over in randomly over in
New England.
New England, yeah. And then my fifth one is for the Houston Texans. Like Kamir Gruger Hill getting 18 fucking tackles was not on my radar.
Wasn't there a
Okay.
tackle that, or someone that said that on the chat, or like a bold prediction that I think it was One Man Wolfpack? He said he's going to revert back to being an average linebacker, and he played 100% of the snaps with Kirksley.
Yeah, I mean, look, another player, dude. If you've ever owned in any league, Camus Gruger Hill, you've suffered pain and suffering of the dude just putting up shit numbers while getting lots of snaps, and then randomly not playing because he sucks. 18 fucking tackles, man. Like, whoa. Like that I had to like look at 3 sites to make sure that was correct. I couldn't fucking believe that jackass got 18 fucking tackles. So those are my top 5. Like, holy fucking hell, what's going on here? And there's like a bunch others, but I can run that down when we start talking about snap counts.
Yeah.
And
I
stuff
want to
again.
give you more time on that segment there, Ben. Yeah, the Houston thing's funny that you brought that up, because I looked, I was like, how did I have 0 points out of my Houston? Because I have 3 Houston guys at linebacker, and I looked, and
Yeah.
Reeves got 0 snaps on defense, and Neville Hewitt got 0 snaps on defense. They only played special teams. I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, how does someone even play? Both the middle linebackers played freaking 100% of snaps. I was like, that's not what
Yeah.
I expected.
I'll give an honorable mention because I didn't want to do 2 players from the same team, but Jerry fucking Hughes getting like 33 fantasy points and basically looking like he looked 4 years ago. I mean, I guess I looked, he's like 27 or 8. He's not that old, but Jerry Hughes has not been that good in fantasy for many years.
Yeah. The defensive
He's
tackle for the Bills as well. He when I watched that Thursday night game, man, he was just everywhere. And I don't know if that's a credit to Von Miller coming in there and just freeing up a lot of other people. And we kind of talked about that a little bit. But God, that guy looked like a fucking beast at tackle too.
Yeah, but I mean, he was on Houston. Like he was listed as the backup, if I'm remembering right. Like he didn't even start, and then he ended up playing like a lot,
Jerry
but
Hughes.
just dominating.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I picked him up in
So
one league. Hopefully that'll continue. But he had kind of a fluky play. He had that interception. I think it was a fluky
I
play.
don't,
And then,
man, I don't think it's a fluke. His numbers are too good.
well, the sack isn't, but the interception to get him to 30 points, where it's
His PFF grade was like super high. He was like no like not missed tackle. Like it is either the best. It could still be the best game of his career, but I'm telling you, like I wouldn't be surprised if if we just got to be like
that's gonna
he's
happen.
he might be their best defensive player. Like
Wow.
I mean, it's Houston for fuck's sake.
I'd have to say that after watching last night's game too, Khalil Mack has 3.5 sacks on the season, so it looks like he might be on path for a good.
Well, he got 3
good
last week, but it's
yeah.
still that's a perfect situation for him.
Yep. Okay.
Still somehow at linebacker.
Yeah.
Still
Right.
somehow a linebacker.
I'm gonna go and do some takeaways from the offensive side of the football. Real quick, I don't want to spend too much time on this. This is a general one. The fucking Denver debacle. I mean, watching that on Monday Night Football, I may have had a lot of different bets on Denver taking that were parlays and freaking teasers and just outright winning bets. How they do not go for that, and the complete mismanagement of time, like is beyond me. Is beyond me. Like I was there, like fucking just flabbergasted. I think everybody is. And then to say,
Did you see Corey? Did you see the because they did that game? They did the Peyton Manning,
yeah, the
Eli
telecast. Yeah, I
Manning.
watched that. Yeah, I
Who
mean,
else did they had somebody else on there, and they were
Shannon
all
Sharp,
just
I
sitting there
believe.
going like, "What are we doing here?
Yeah, timeout.
What are we
Peyton
doing
Manning
here?"
say timeout 25 times in
He's just
20
like
seconds.
he's just like doing this. He's like, "What are you doing?" Oh my
I
god,
mean,
that's got to
don't
kill
you
his
even just
soul.
think about it?
Bad
Like
clock
you
management.
have 3 timeouts. Like, don't you at least take time to think about it?
They
No.
give you 3 points if you have 3 timeouts at the end of a game. Corey, didn't you know?
Oh my, they should take them away. Like that's just
Oh,
completely
bro.
mismanaged. I mean, the guy just shit his pants, and it's like Russell Wilson should be. I mean,
Yeah.
like what
You
is he
should just be
doing? Hey,
like, "What are
coach,
we doing
yeah,
here? I'm taking the
something.
timeout. Fuck you. You don't know what you're talking
But
about."
then
Like,
to follow it up with like, hey, we wanted to get to the opportunity to kick a 65 yarder. Like again, like everybody said that the normal thing, you pay a guy $250 million for 4th and 5. Like that's, but like there's some emotional stuff to it, right? Like what if you go for it and lose there, right? You still have, I think you have 2 timeouts or 3. I think they had 2, right? I think they had 2 timeouts, so they
they
could
had
have stopped the
3.
game. Huh?
They used one and had 2 left over
Oh,
at the
right.
end
They
of the
used
game.
it at 20 seconds. Right, right, right. You're right. Yeah. Anyway,
But
so the
they, but
emotional side
they,
of it is like, let's say you're on the road and you don't get it. Okay, big deal. You miss a field goal. It's just whatever it is. You put the ball in Russell Wilson's hand and you get it on the road in Seattle. It's instantly fucking, karma for the rest of the year. It's team building. It's like, hey, we believe in this guy. Let's go get it, right? Like, just a complete shit show. At least take the timeout at 48 seconds and freaking think about it.
that's it.
At
That's
least.
it. Why did you leave time on the clock if you're trying to ice the fucking game?
The
At
only thing that,
65-yarder. You
yeah.
just want to give them more time? It was clearly not thought through and then panicked mid. And like, that's just,
It's
yeah.
well, yeah.
Top
That's what
5.
we planned on. Well, you planned on it. You planned on Javante making a guy miss in the fucking backfield to get you to that point anyway. So it's
Bad
like
play
that's
calling.
just it's
Really bad
absolutely
play calling.
it's ridiculous.
Nervous about
Um,
Denver. I'm not gonna lie. That play calling is just
it
fucking
cost
next level
me
bad.
some anger. James Robinson and Travis Etienne. So James Robinson played 49% of the snaps. Etienne played 51%. James Robinson outtouched Etienne 13-8. Why is that a surprise? I think after all we've seen from Achilles injuries and preseason with Etienne, the fact that James Robinson came in and I mean, it could be just he got himself going pretty quick. I know Etienne dropped a couple passes that could have completely changed the narrative. But I don't think there's going to be a 70-30 time split in Etienne's favorite coming anytime soon. I think if you're a James Robinson owner, Georgia, like you gotta be pretty happy about him being a $10 player and recovering from that the Achilles tendon injury. But I would be buying low on ETN stock because he looked explosive, was productive when he did have the ball. Just had a couple of probably nervous little drops there. So thought that was interesting. Um, any thoughts there, Ben?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, two thoughts. Like, there's two touchdowns that ETN should have had, and he just dropped them, plain and simple.
First game
Uh,
back, probably pretty excited.
well, I don't know. I mean, maybe ETN's not as good as a wide receiver as we hoped, but we'll see. I just, I
Well, he only
think
had two targets
good.
too, and he dropped them
I
both.
think if you were betting on James Robinson looking that
Or
good,
four.
you were probably high as a kite. But it's good to see that he's pretty recovered from it. And I don't think that's James Robinson is just going to be a banger. And I don't think you're going to see him be super explosive coming back from this injury. I think it's just going to be very similar to like the good games we saw from Cam Akers. It's just you're shocked that he came back. But if you're going to analyze what he did, he's just kind of going forward and getting these nice, hard 6-yard runs, 8-yard runs. He was able to get those touchdowns. So good for him, man. Like,
He's an
we'll
ideal
see.
kind of back for BC, though.
I don't really think we know any more about, not anymore, but much more about that offense than we would have hoped to. I mean, Zay Jones was just getting peppered with targets. Kirk kind of got involved here and there. I just didn't really.
Let's not get into my wide receiver breakdowns yet because I got some of those
Oh,
guys
my
mentioned.
bad. Look. I'm just saying we don't know a lot about that team. I can't tell you much more other than they're not, it's not a breakout team fantasy wise. It still kind of feels very much like last year, like you're not going to really know what the fuck you're getting.
Well, let's put it this way: they're going to be better than they were last year. I think that's already
Well, I
evident.
agree with that. You'd like to see some cream rise to the top, and it didn't feel
Yeah,
like it was.
yeah. Kind of the same theme here. I just wanted to talk a little bit about the Javante and Gordon timeshare. Javante, boy, he just looks good. I just wish they would just hand over the backfield to that guy. I mean, at least 70-30 split. They were almost going every other series, and then it looks like maybe obviously Javante's the pass catching back, but they did, they worked in Gordon heavily, and Gordon was in equally in the goal line. Um, Javante had 11 receptions, I believe, and I mean he's a beast, and I think that that's going to continue. I think that Russell is not going to scramble as much as he has in the past, or at least early in his career, and they're going to use Javante in screens and design plays, and Gordon's still going to be a banger. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I thought it was more of a timeshare than what I would like as a Javante owner. But you have to be encouraged by the pass catching.
Yeah.
Thoughts on
I
that?
mean, look, dude,
Both of them were shitty inside the goal line. If you want,
well, there's a fumble, but I mean, if Gordon gets dinged up at all, I mean, it's all on coaching here.
Here's
They
another
should be
thing, though,
using
Ben, real
Williams.
quick. That fumble by Javante, again, was because a coach tried to rush through a play to get whatever matchups that they had, and they weren't set, and then they were get down to the play clock, they pressed the snap, and the fucking center gets blown up into the backfield, and Javante's like, what the fuck? And then, so like, let's slow down. Like, let's slow down and get it right. I don't understand unless you're in shotgun and it's like, okay, we've had him in spread, we're going down to the one. It's a questionable call of whether or not he caught the ball or not on the goal line. Let's get up there and run a fucking a draw play.
Bootleg
Like,
or
I'm fine with
something,
that.
just in case everyone's not set. Like,
Right.
I
But
just like,
this
oh yeah,
third
hold
and
me a
one,
perfect pop for this fucking dive forward. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing here?
third
Like,
and one, we're
I
rushing.
agree.
Yeah.
Just bad
Anyway,
coaching.
move,
Denver atrocious coaching on week 1.
it was pretty
Atrocious.
bad. Moving on. Just an interesting point here. We've talked a lot about tight end scoring over the years and how important tight ends are in this league. So I broke down every game this week, and the average score for a tight end one. I didn't do teams that started two. I actually just picked their best one, and typically it was anybody that started two tight ends. It was their guy that you would assume is their best one that outproduced the other guy. But what would you guess the average score from all teams at the tight end position was?
4 points.
It was 6.3.
It is a bad week for tight ends. I'm not going to overreact to it, but Sure.
No. Yeah, I hear you. So I don't necessarily think it was bad. I think that's kind of what you're gonna probably see a little bit between that 6 to 8 to 9 range.
That average is going way up, man. You're talking Kittle was out, Andrews fucking didn't do shit. Kelsey didn't do shit. Pitts didn't do shit. All the
Yep.
top end heavy guys didn't do shit. So
Yeah.
like it's just and we didn't have like these crazy like every tight end that was like, ooh, wow. It's like they were fucking out of nowhere. Like
Right.
OJ Howard, fucking 2 TDs on 2 targets and 2 routes run. Congratulations. Just weird tight end shit. I
Yeah. Well,
appreciate the analysis, but I think I think we need a better sample size. It was just so fluky.
so the top five, arguably the top five tight ends in most people's rankings, would are Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, Andrews, and Pitts. Would you assume like that's pretty? I mean, I didn't do Goddard. Goddard would probably be thrown in there maybe.
Oh,
Um,
that's fine. Nice.
Kittle sat, which I think has to be included because if you're investing in tight end and he's hurt, like that's going to hurt you. So the average between those top five was 10.4. So it's obviously the top five guys didn't put up huge numbers. You want that to be up in like the 15 range, right? Probably 13, 14 if you're going to be starting one of those guys. So you're right. I'm going to continue to look at that. I think where I'm kind of going with this is like I think investing in a kind of can't miss tight end is important in this league because it gives you a little bit more flexibility if you happen to get a second one on your roster. And if they perform and you're dominating that position, it's much like dominating a D tackle position or even like one of your three linebacker spots. But I don't know. I'd
Yeah,
rather
but all the can't misses miss.
right. No, like the guy from who was this guy from Denver that all of a sudden started the game with like 3 receptions for 60 yards that nobody
They
had a
played
back.
3 tight ends.
Yeah,
Seattle played 3 tight ends.
Disley.
Like 7 teams played 3 tight ends. Just mind blowing, dude.
Yeah, it's interesting. I just like little things like that. So I'll keep sharing my tight end data and see where that ends up.
No, I appreciate it.
You're saying that what I'm saying is invest. I think tight ends are worth more of a draft capital investment.
I
Um,
agree with that. I agree with that, Corey. I just think it's a tough week to argue for that because everyone
yeah,
kind of sucked.
that's why I'm going to keep it on going, big guy. Um,
Word.
all right, loser GM of the week. Who cost themselves a victory from the lineup, Ben? So we're gonna do this every week. You get called out for being a loser. You get called out for being a winner. Like you can pick whatever reasons. Like if you can't say Wayne because he's a loser for doing the bid thing, but it's more game related, right? Like on the matchups or what a move they made from a trade or whatever.
Oh, okay. So maybe I didn't really understand what you were.
Yeah, just like who was the loser GM of the week, right? Like we had a whole week of movement. We had game analysis. Did they put the right roster? Did they sit someone? Did they sit too many people? Like just kind of looking at analysis that way.
Yeah. To be totally honest, I mean, like, I think it's Penn that lost to Mean Machine that I saw. He made a couple. Sorry, I wasn't really ready for this question in this much detail. I mean, that's like a real. If you're talking like I got to look at trades and
Oh,
sits,
it's
like I
okay.
wasn't.
I'll do. Penn was actually the one that I kind of spotted on the
Who's that?
loser side of it because I was going to add some comments. Just because he had a couple people on his bench that if he shifts them into the starting lineup, he might have a victory. There wasn't really anybody glaringly that would have won this week if he would have started an arguable decision, like a questionable decision. So it was a little bit tougher. Um, I think who was the one that I actually ended up with. Um, this is a great segment so far. We're really killing this one.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry, I just
my
didn't really
loser
get
of
what
the
you were
week
asking.
actually was Wildcats, which we've talked highly about his draft capital. Um, but he had Jordan Phillips, the guy from Buffalo that I couldn't think of earlier, on his bench, 17.9 points. He puts him in at D tackle. For a guy that got the goose egg, he wins his matchup just on that move alone. So there's a Wildcat victory that was left on his bench for the most part. He also had um, Talona Hufanga, who I think would probably be on the defensive surprises, had 21.05 points against the Bears and was absolutely fucking dominant. So those two players being started in his starting lineup would have handily beat Michigan. So there's my throw in, loser of the week award.
Yeah, I'll back this up even more for you, Corey. Because that is probably the correct choice. Most specifically because his possible points was he was 7th in possible points, right? So when you have scoring potential that puts you in the top 7 and you take the L, that's
Oh,
usually,
that's a good analysis. I forgot about using that tool. That would actually
yeah, I mean, that's kind of what I was going by as far as seeing who underperformed, right? And Wildcats is the first one that comes up there, but also Penn is ahead of them at 6. So that's kind of why we're saying Penn. Penn is the highest possible points loser of the week. Now, granted, KCP machine came in and kind of, we'll get to that later, but really
yeah.
really
I mean that's a good
surprised.
transition. I think for the winner of the week, I think you have to put Casey Mean Machine in there, right? Like
Based off of how we analyze this guy's team, he's definitely the winner. He scored 249 out of 262 possible points. So that's pretty fire, getting pretty much your max.
absolutely.
But I just think his team just really performed well. And kind of looked like there were some holes in there, and all these guys kind of showed up and showed out, man. So good on you, Casey. You're my you're my winner of the week.
And honestly, we got to give a little credit to Joel Innocent, that John Candy, just beating up on Prestige Worldwide. Obviously, not a high caliber matchup in most people's eyes, but hey, to go 1-0 after everybody's bagging on your team and calling you a top 3 lottery pick, Joel, good start to the season, buddy. Keep it
Yeah,
going. Keep it going.
yeah.
Prove everybody wrong.
I'll give him honorable mention. There you go.
Awesome. And shout out to Georgia for losing in week 1 to me. Um, so moving on, it's snap count time, brother. Make it snappy. That's sponsored by Snap on Dildos. So this is your segment. I'm sure this is going to be super clear, super concise. It's going to move along quickly, and you're going to have a ton of data drop here because you prepared for this like a motherfucker.
Corey, when you talk like that, as you introduced me, it makes me want to do the opposite of what you're implying
Oh no,
passive aggressively.
I just know that your expert analysis is going to shine through here. So it's kind of giving me
So
a
we're
little bit of
only
a hard
hitting
on.
the IDP end of the ball, right? That's all I kind of.
Defensive snap counts, like your assessment of like surprises, takeaways.
I'm not gonna go surprises takeaways. I'm gonna do the whole fucking league. What do you think of that?
Well, you got
I'm
5
gonna go
minutes,
fucking fast. I'll
so
do it in 5 minutes. I don't
yeah.
give a fuck. Start with the Arizona Cardinals. You got Zach Allen at fucking DN playing 83% of snaps. I mean, that's the spot that JJ Watt is normally playing in. And look, man, he got a direct insert and took all JJ Watt's spots. So I would say the cool thing about that is JJ Watt, you expect him to get all that work. I don't know what happens to him later. I'm going to say the worry that Nick Vigil was going to be a problem with snap counts didn't really come to fruition. Isaiah Simmons and Collins. Collins played almost 100%. Simmons got 89, even though he wasn't great. And then the outside linebackers, fucking forget about it. Don't play any of them unless you are in a bind, which was pretty bad. Murphy and Wilson got the 100% snaps, and so did Jalen Thompson and Buda Baker. So those are really nice because some of those kind of looked like they could have mixed in. Congratulations if you have those guys. And then on the Atlanta Falcons, Grady, fuck your face, Jarrett just did his thing. He got 75% snaps for D tackle. That's like pretty elite. So congrats if you have Jarrett. I think that's Orphans had him. Mikael Walker in replacement of Deion Jones, 100% snaps. But Rashard Evans got 100% snaps too at middle linebacker. So we'll see who plays better. That's one to keep an eye on because Deion Jones comes back. One of those guys is going to revert to the other role. More than likely, it's going to be Rashard Evans. Outside linebacker, Lorenzo Carter got a more snaps than I expected at 84%. I don't really know if we need to over celebrate that, but it seems like there's something there. Terrell and Hayward, 100%, both of them. They didn't run a lot of DBs, so even the slot corners, there was a split, so not a lot of value to be found there. And then Richie Grant and Hawkins, Jalen Hawkins, who was the guy who came in at strong safety. I wasn't so sure they were going to give him 100% snap run, and he did, and he showed out. He had a really good game, so Jalen Hawkins probably need to be on your radar. If you don't know who he is, go figure it out. All right, Baltimore Ravens. We have a surprise like stat line from Michael Pierce, so it's pretty good, but he only had about 50% snaps, so we'll see if that's going to be repeatable. Calais Campbell, only 50% snaps, which is a little down. That defensive end's pretty muddled, so we'll see what happens. Patrick Queen still getting 100% snaps. He still sucks, but he's still putting up numbers. So if you got him, good for you. After that, man, it's basically kind of a mixed bag. I wouldn't make any analysis except for Jason Owe at 81%. Looks like a solid start. Humphrey and Fuller. I think Kyle Fuller is out and he is hurt. I think he might be on the IR.
He's on the IR. I had him.
So
yeah.
he's on the IR, and it looked like Brandon Stevens had a lot of run at that nickel slot. So I would expect him probably to stay in the slot. So you might get a surprise there if you want to go fuck around with the waiver wire if one of the
Why
guys
do I know
Williams.
that Kyle Fuller was on the IR? Well, because he's on my team, and that's why I was putting in a waiver request for a cornerback, and then
Yep,
had to
there you
make
go.
decisions based off of that. And then guess what? Because I made decisions to change, make a change there, and go after some different people. I then didn't activate Justin Watson, who then had a pick six touchdown last night off of my taxi squad. So these decisions do impact how we make decisions as
We
general
don't need to beat
managers.
the dead horse, Corey.
Just
We already
saying.
fucking lit the
Just
fire.
saying.
All right, fair enough. Now, the biggest surprise, and I think this was the most interesting position that we wanted to look at, was the safety. I had thought that they were going to find a way to play three safeties most of snaps, but Kyle Hamilton only played 50% of snaps. He didn't play a lot at the line. It didn't look like they really wanted to thrust him in there, so to say, if I can use the word thrust. But Chuck Clark and Marcus Williams at 100% looks like they're going to be the guys. And Kyle Hamilton, if anything, might be kind of messing around with that fifth DB spot, but they played a lot of 5 DB plus, so there's snaps to be there. But like if I have Kyle Hamilton, I'm pretty bummed out at this point. So we'll see how that develops. Next up, the Buffalo Bills. We talked about this specifically, and I was really interested to see how they distributed this, Corey, because we saw everybody eat. And DaQuan Jones leading D tackles at 70. It's pretty surprising. Jordan Phillips had 50%. Ed Oliver only had 26. Now he got hurt, but he only had 26%. And I saw him in the backfield a lot, but I'm a little nervous about that 26% for him. Again, they could all eat. But we'll have to see. Gregory Rousseau and AJ Espinosa. Espinosa had 55% snaps. I think it's good. He was rushing the passer on most of them. I saw he had like 3 missed opportunity tackles, I think. So, like, I don't know. He could have had a better game, and he had a pretty decent game. And then, Von Miller only played 53% of the snaps. And that seems impossible. If you would ask me that watching that game, I would have said no way. Right, Corey?
Right.
Like, it felt like Von Miller was fucking up every play. But, like, that just goes to show you when a player is being used really well as a pass rushing specialist, D end, it makes sense. Like 53% can get you there if you're that dominant. And, but 53% can also get you some 3 or 4 point games. Let's see how Miller does this weekend. I'm definitely interested in that. Edmonds and Milano continue to get the 100%. Edmonds did have a pretty shitty grade. But I think we're just going to see that in general. He's going to be the guy until he's really not next year, I think. Cornerback, Dane Jackson and Teron Johnson got the 100%. There, I think they had some injuries that's going to be very different, but it's pretty interesting to see that they went with those two guys specifically for the full roles. And then they also had another 100+ snap split between two other guys. So they did a lot of 6 DBs, only corners, 5 6 DBs, and then only 2 safeties played. So did Micah Hyde and Jordan Poyer, who went 100%, and then no other safeties got run. I kind of point these out because sometimes you look at these regimes and what their tendencies are, you can find what backups are worth owning. Like sometimes if they're sneaking in 15 to 20% snaps on a safety position in blue chip, that can be a really good value. But when you have a regime who's just deciding to play it when they're going those big nickels, going only cornerback, that's where your value is going to be. So next, the Carolina Panthers.
Holy fuck, you legit are going to go through every single team snap counts?
100%, dude. Why don't you just sit back and fucking show? I'll do it fast if you don't interrupt me, man.
32 team.
All right.
32 team snap count session? This is going to be the fucking, this is going to be an hour-long segment. There's no way you can do that. You've done 2
Shut
teams.
Up.
It's been 7 minutes.
No, I haven't. I've done more.
Okay.
I've done 4 teams, and you've interrupted me for 5 minutes, so that's why. Shut up, Corey.
Snap count surprises. Read the itinerary,
Jesus Christ.
Go for it. You're doing a great job.
Well, I'd be doing a better job if you just lay back and let it go.
Go for it, buddy.
All right. I'll do it faster. Defensive tackle, Derek Brown's the guy. Continues to be so. Play accordingly. Brian Bird's 81% is good. Gross Moss getting 70% and not being effective is a concern. So that could change in the future. Again, I talked about Shaq Thompson and frankly Luvu. Luvu 85%, man, that's really good. Thompson at 75%. I had him pinned as 100% guy. It's kind of concerning. And then they have JC Horn was getting full run, and then it's kind of split between the other 3 guys. Jackson, Henderson, and Hartfield. And then Jeremy Chin and Xavier Ward, same thing, 2 safeties, no backups getting run, 100%. Congratulations if you have those guys. All right, now, Corey.
Hey,
I was just gonna stop right now, man.
No, don't stop. I gotta get a little plug here. If you guys do not want to pay for the the paywall for football guys, just tune into our show. You can send us $15 donation every week, and Ben will do the snap counts. Like this is fucking pure gold. Seriously, $15 every week. We'll do snap count analysis for you.
Hey, man, I'm trying to build us a Patreon.
Jesus Christ!
Here.
Donations welcome. I'm gonna send the link in the message board for donations welcome for the Make It Snappy snap count session.
Make it snappy. I'll make it less snappy every week.
Now it's funny.
Okay, there you go.
Do a whole podcast.
All right.
Oh, there it is.
All
Pivoting.
Right. There's your boy.
Breaking news. We're going to do a snap-only snap count podcast on Tuesdays, led by solo artist Ben Ziegler. This has been talked about for a while now.
I'll do it. I'll fucking run down this and give my thoughts on it. It's not like I'm just spouting these out. There's an expectation. It makes sense this week because we have expectations on what these guys were going to do, and a lot of it didn't work. Like it's a way to like methodically use snap counts to make analysis of whether guys are playing or not. In some cases, there are injuries, which you got to pay attention to, but in some cases, it's just a lot of preseason hype,
Yep.
So, anyways,
I will not talk again until you're done. You have 7 minutes.
Okay. I mean, you're gonna have to interrupt at some point. All right. So the D tackle though was Angle Black said at 69%. The other guys are fodder. Robert Quinn as the guy, and then they used a real distribution like the Buffalo Bills and the rest of the guys. 2 guys at 63%, 41% for Dominique Robinson, the rookie. He's undrafted, I think. And then very disappointing, Travis Gibson got 38%. I thought he was going to get a lot more run for you guys, Corey. Can you tell me if he got hurt? Because I couldn't see anything that said he did.
I don't know, to be honest with you. I
Okay.
didn't see he did. It seemed Muhammad was the one that was and Robertson were the guys making plays. Robinson at
Yeah,
defensive
but
end.
Justin Jones got 63%. My point is they distributed pretty well, but I expected Gibson to be more on the high end than the low end,
But maybe he's more of
considering,
that specialist pass rusher too, kind of like a Von Miller type, right?
yeah,
Like so you
possibly.
just
I mean,
don't
he
know.
just had such a good year last year as a rookie. I just
Sloppy
figured.
conditions. They're not really, throwing the ball very much. So maybe they had different guys in for run, for running kind of situations. That would be my
Exactly.
guess because he's supposed to by all accounts have a pretty solid year this year.
Yeah, as I predicted, Nicholas Moreau went 100%. They did give him the green dot, so he's calling the plays. That's all good to see. And Roquan Smith was 100%. And this is a segue into the trade, Corey. You want to talk about the Roquan Smith, break this up
Yep.
and talk about the Roquan Smith for Michael Carter trade. I saw a lot of people on the chat talking about it, implying certain things. And I want to know what your opinion on the trade was before I give mine.
Yeah. So first of all, I think anybody that doubts what Mike does is I don't think they're smart in a lot of ways. Like I don't think Mike does things just to do them, and he's been very. I don't think he's stingy to deal with. Like so, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying he's very calculated. He knows what he's doing. So good GM. That being said, I like the deal for him. I don't. Everybody, by all accounts, believe that Michael Carter is going to be a fixture in the Jets offense regardless of Brees Hall. And that was proven in week 1 and it's been backed up by their coaching staff. He was a high value draft pick. He was a top 5 pick in the league 2 years ago, I believe. Like maybe they're depending on what happens when Wilson comes back, I don't see him going away and I see him being very productive. So in this league, that running back position, when you're struggling at it already, like I don't think it's a bad move at all. Just from that perspective. Now you look at Penn's team, and he has like 5 or 6 legit fucking good linebackers that he can play. So if he really believes he can, get those points at linebacker position with the Roquan situation and him holding out and kind of like not knowing where he's going to be next year or what system he's going to be in, you're giving up a top 3 running back, linebacker, top 5 linebacker for a running back that's going to play. He's going to catch passes. He's going to be a part of an offense. And I like the trade. I don't think it was negative either way. I think it's just a good trade based off of need. I'm just sad that it went to Chicago Packers and not me, but I don't have any running backs to sell. So
Okay, so Corey, I'm gonna give you one of the old nerd rants now.
go for it.
Okay. Do you know what Roquan Smith's PFF grade was in week 1?
94.1.
28.1, the worst among all qualifying linebackers over 60% snaps.
That's not good. But was that, I mean, is there any way that has to do with the conditions too, or no?
No.
Okay.
Because he was one of the worst last year. So this is the whole thing. The nerds are all saying the reason Roquan isn't getting paid is because it's not the new staff, new regime. They want new people. It's new staff, new regime that believes in analytics and analyzing their players. So just because Roquan Smith has been awesome for fantasy doesn't mean he's been a good NFL player. And the answer is he hasn't. Even though he does seem like he does good things, he makes very detrimental plays and missed tackles to the team. So having that bad of a PFF grade to me is like, there's no fucking way he's probably going to be on this team next year. And he's probably not going to be a super long, even though he's good now because he's young and he's in his prime, he could be not good in a few years. Like when he starts losing his step, he's not going to be able to rely on his athleticism. So to me, he now is in, even though he is, yes, top 5. And like this year, he's going to score a shitload of points. I just think like Carter is going to have this secondary role. He looks good. And for his roster specifically, he really needed a running back. And I don't think he's giving away a top 5 linebacker asset value in Dynasty, me personally, because there's no fucking way he's on the Bears next year. And depending on what system he gets into, he might not play 100% of snaps if the teams are going to look his PFF grade and how he's actually fucking shit up. Like he can't cover tight end. He can't cover a fucking slot like the backs that coming out of the backfield. So all you can do is like make these tackles after the fact of them getting more yards than expected gain, right? So that's great for us for fantasy. But when you talk about like job security and like what's going to happen to Roquan Smith in the future, I think when you look at, well, we can have Roquan Smith and lock him up long term for 4 years. What if he's only good for a year or two?
Right.
Then that Michael Carter side looks really good. Outside of the fact that Penn desperately needed help at running back this year to not take zeros. So I'd love to trade for him, but I like to trade for him also dynasty wise, just on the fact that I think your GM is smart because I mean he was number one on our list before we got Kwesi, right?
There's
He
a
was number
reason they're
one on
not
our
paying
list.
Roquan.
Exactly, but he was number one on our list because he's an analytics guy, just like Kwesi. We want guys who want to do like not this gut instinct fucking
Moneyball
like
type
like
shit. Yeah.
dude, we dealt with that for so the flip end, and you guys are doing the same thing, which is great. I think that'll really help you again. Like, man, maybe that's why your offensive line is being slept on by other people, but maybe they've got the right analytics reads on them. So,
So
anyways,
I think that's a great analysis. I love doing those. I think it's fun for the league to kind of hear our opinions on that kind of stuff and those sort of type of things we want to do on the show. So let's make it more active. Let's get the trades rolling. Let's throw some more offers
yeah, it
out
felt
there.
like the league really didn't like Penn's side of giving up Roquan, but I saw
I
that instantly.
I
Thought it was great for him.
I like it. I liked it a lot. I mean, every team's doing something different. I think if I'm the Packers, I
It's
don't want to give up that running back asset. That's he's playing and he's playing a lot,
But
and
for
I
this
don't
year, it
think he's
could be a
going.
win-win, man. Or maybe he just really likes Roquan. But I'm going to
Yeah,
tell you,
that's
like,
okay too. I mean, that's
I give
okay
the
too.
case against.
I went and got Roquan in another league just because I want to watch him play and like I had the budget to do it and I needed help at linebacker. So it's like sometimes we got to remember it's part of this is that it's a fandom and loving watching the games and rooting for people that we care about. It's just as much not for some of us as about winning, but I don't know. There's nothing wrong with that. Now listen, I don't want to stop your snap count analysis, but I do have limited time. So,
I
can
understand.
can we do highlights? Then not the. I mean, like, and then like moving forward, I really am serious. Like, I think you should do 30 minutes, and like you can upload it, and then we can add that in like on the show. I just think for people that want to listen to it, it's absolutely amazing, and you're one of the best at it. But I don't have the
We didn't
time to
leave
do.
enough time. We talked too much about Wayne's fucking
Well, it's a
and
40,
the
it's a
commission's
45 minute
blunder.
segment if you're going to do snap counts on every team. So if we can condense that into like highlights and like big surprises and do it in 3 or 5, but that I mean I think there's a lot of value to be had for people that want to fast forward to the end of this and listen just to the snap counts on its own, right? So if you want to put the time in to do that, so be it. I just don't have the time every time to have it in our recaps each week. So
Don't worry. Well, you
okay.
put it in the agenda, sir. So
Is
I
there
took it
anything else that you
seriously.
wanted to mention on the Make It Snappy, sponsored by Snap It on Dildos, paywall part of our services?
For all snap counts, or do you
Yeah,
want
just
me to
any.
just
What about Zaven Collins? I'm just going to throw him out there.
I already went through same comments. I
I
told
was
you what I'm
blacked out
what
at that point because
no.
I was just thinking
It
of
was
the
the
future.
first team, Corey. It means you haven't been paying attention the whole time. This is how much you need to talk
I
on the
started getting very
podcast.
freaked out.
So,
What about
and you're blaming this on me, but this segment would have gone fast if you didn't
what
interrupt me.
about
So if
Robert
it's a solo
Spillane?
pod, I can get it in. I can get why Robert Spillane? Are you just
Why?
going to
I
go
don't know
down your
because I
team
noticed
and
that you went and got him in a couple leagues, so I'm sure there's a reason why you.
no, it wasn't me. It was somebody else who got him. I don't think I got
Not in
Spillane.
BC. You went and got him in. Well, you bid on him in a couple of leagues. I thought that he was the one that was competing with Jan Brown for snaps, and so I wondered if you saw something there.
No, but there's just uncertainty with the that Watt injury happening. So they're gonna have to mix it up a little bit. Since you're on Pittsburgh, I will say all those people continuing to say Devin Bush is worth fucking shit. You were wrong, and you're wrong now. 51% snaps. That fucking dude is done. Don't think he's playing all the snaps. That's Miles Jack's job now. Kiss it goodbye, man. Like that's like again, you get these big names that people can't get off of. Devin Bush is one of them. He's fucking beat. Robert Spillane, because Devin Bush is beat and he graded so bad, is he played 30%. He'll probably have to play more. inside outside. I mean, they might give Alex Highsmith most of the run. He got 83% with Watt in there, but I don't know if any of the other guys they have behind Watt can really pick that up. So I think what you'll see, you might even see Miles Jack jump outside and a pinch, and maybe Devin Bush and Spillane get an
Can I
uptick in
ask you another
snaps.
question, Ben?
Yeah.
Where do you think Blake Martinez signs, or do you think he doesn't sign? And if he doesn't sign, why?
Um, I don't
Would he
know.
sign in
Like,
Denver or Detroit?
wow, the problem is Denver can't analyze their favorite guy and Josie Jewell because he's hurt, so he didn't play week 1. Their shit's a dumpster fire. Um, and then no, Detroit's fine. They like Rodriguez and he's sharing with Board, and then Alex Alazone graded pretty well. So they can't be that mad about it. Rodriguez got like 65% snaps, so he's not 100% starter, but he definitely is getting good run, and he got me some points, so I was
I'm
happy with
curious.
that.
Roman and I made that deal, and I took a wild swing at it just because I figured if he signs, he's going to be signed to play because they're going to have to pay him, right? Like
I
it's
just told you Raekwon McMillan is fucking getting 70% snaps for the New England Patriots. Like, they should sign Blake Martinez. Unfortunately, like, they only want to pay guys the minimum at linebacker. It's fucking crazy. Either undrafted free agents or minimum signings. The Patriots are weird. Um,
well. Thank you
I
for
don't know,
answering.
man.
I'm just curious. I didn't know if you had
Well,
any
that's my
intel.
takes on those teams. I can't really give you a definitive fit at this point. I don't think we have enough injuries to be totally
Yeah, I
honest.
think things will be settled by week
Um,
4 for sure.
yeah, I mean, like, so they're the middle linebackers part didn't get that devastated in injuries. It was mostly these pass rushing outside linebacker guys and some safeties. You saw Adams go down and some others like that. So,
So the last
um,
segment is just a quick review of some different wide receivers. And obviously you can throw your thoughts in on these as well. Kind of more like a buy low, sell high kind of thing. Most of them are kind of people that maybe underperformed or are just kind of questionable with their new situations. The first one I had on my list was DK Metcalf, who went 7 for 36 on 12 targets. Um, I mean, obviously watched that game, Monday night game. I was very encouraged by Gino and how he played. Like he looked like a professional quarterback. I mean, like I didn't think he looked bad. I think obviously Metcalf's the alpha on that team, so I think there's going to be a lot of kind of he's also caught all of his targets and made some contested catches. I think you're probably going to see him get that similar production, and he had Sertan on him the whole game too. So I think he'll have more yardage, and I think he'll be around that 5 to 8 kind of receptions a game, and they seem to be airing it out a little bit more than I thought they would with Geno. So I would say that optimistic after week 1 from DK, even though he was kind of a buy low candidate and more of a future investment in a couple leagues for me. Um, Jalen Waddle, obviously Roman's going to know that those two names are reciprocal because we made a trade for one up for each one of those guys. He was 4 for 69 on 5 targets with that 42-yard touchdown. Had he not had that touchdown, he would have been 3 of 3 receptions for 17 yards. And so I guess my whole thing and why I made that trade was because I thought Waddle was going to take a regression this year with Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill had 12 targets in that game to Waddle's 5. So I think that assessment was right. Long term, I think Waddle is going to be awesome. I think so that there's no question there. I'm trying to win that league this year, so it's not an indictment of Waddle. I think both him and my next topic are going to have a little bit of a setback just because they're in new situations with more alpha wide receivers there. And I wouldn't be extremely encouraged by how Tua played either in that game. Smith, Devontae Smith, 0 for 0 on 4 targets. AJ Brown had a monster day. Could be want to show off our shiny new toy, but I would expect that Devontae Smith is a regression candidate this year versus last year as well. We've made bets on both Waddle and Smith to that degree. I think he's obviously going to have better games where he catches 6 balls, 8 balls, and has 70, 80 yards, even some monster games in there. But you're going to see AJ Brown leading, obviously, in receptions. And I would be optimistic about how Philadelphia offense look and how Jalen Hurts has ascended. Darnell Mooney, 1 for 8 yards on 3 targets. Obviously, that fucking sucks because I'm a big time Mooney believer. I'm a Bears fan. I do think that there are better days ahead. Obviously, those conditions were awful. I heard other analysts saying that the conditions weren't that bad until the last quarter and a half. I don't know if anybody looked at that field and thought, "Wow, this is going to be a perfect opportunity for fucking wide receivers that are speed and quick route runners to excel in." So I think there'll be better days for the Chicago offense. They're going to have to throw the ball. I don't think they're a great defensive team. I think Mooney's going to be the #1 target. So I might have to tamper my expectations a little bit on him having a Mike Evans type season this year. But I think that he'll finish right up there with 70, 80 receptions for over 1,000 yards and probably 6 TDs.
Corey, let me make some quick comments on all three of
Last
those.
one, and then you got free reign on everything.
Oh, I thought you were gonna have a bunch, so I
Yep.
was just
No,
gonna
this
break
is
it
the
up.
last one.
I'll wait.
Christian Kirk, the reason why I wanted to stop you earlier, he went 6 for 12 on 12 targets. I think that's a big game for Christian Kirk, and he looked good doing it. I went back and watched a lot of that game. Zay Jones, I think, had 7 targets, so Kirk was the go-to guy. They got rid of Chenault. They got rid of your boy Laquan Treadwell. And so they have some other weapons in Jacksonville. I don't think he's going to be the alpha #1, but fucking if you invested in Christian Kirk to get 6 for 112 in the first game on 12 targets has to be exciting. I think that's probably a ceiling outside of the touchdowns. I don't think he's going to have 8 for 160-yard games very often. And I think he's going to have some poo-poo games as well. But pretty good start for him. Those are my 5.
5. What was the first one?
DK, Waddle, Smith, Mooney, and Kirk.
Oh, okay. The DK one. It's hard to even make an analysis of that game, to be totally honest, because they just passed so much to the tight end. But I'm pretty nervous about those pass catchers. But we'll see what happens. I mean, they played 80%, and Geno Smith looked good, so that should spill over. I think they'll be fine, right? And then I just wanted to point out, very strangely, Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle only played 65% snaps. That's like the lowest in the league for 2 starting wide receivers. Like
does that mean that they're getting running back snaps, or does that mean that they're getting they're cutting into each other's time a little bit and they're just using both of them kind of interchangeable?
Look, I'll just tell you, it just doesn't happen. So what it means is they're using 2 back sets, 2 tie-on sets. But if you look at, I don't know. I mean, I really probably need to go back and watch this game because it's not like behind them, right? You're like, oh, okay, so all these other guys got a ton of snaps. Like Cedric Wilson's 47%, Trent Sheffield's 35%, River Carcalf, I've never heard of, 17%. Okay, so we're looking at a total of 200% ish snaps at wide receiver. And if that's indicative of what these fucking guys are going to be running, first of all, run far away from this offense. Second of all, like, who in the fucking NFL these days only runs 2 wide receiver stats max the whole fucking time? It seems ludicrous to me. So this gives me a ton of pause. And specifically, you talked about the bet we had with Waddle had the best of the 2. I'm actually more worried about him when I'm analyzing this team. Whereas Smith, even though I have to start with a 0, he played 100% snaps. He played more than AJ Brown. He also is one of their best run blockers. So that alone by default is just going to get him on the field constantly. I think beyond better days ahead, I think like he was supposed to be the play on like a bunch of these scrambles that Jalen Hurts kind of just ran a lot, 18 runs, I think. That's just, first of all, if they're going to run Jalen Hurts 18 times intentionally, he's not going to last more than 4 games. That's my opinion. And so the Garden Minshew mania is probably coming up pretty soon here. But that just seems crazy. That doesn't seem sustainable to run your quarterback that much. I mean, even when Lamar Jackson was running, he never ran that much. Like
Yeah, it's
that's a
insane.
ludicrous amount. But again, Devontae Smith, excuse me, is like 96%. AJ Brown was at 87, right? So they only ran two wide receivers most of the time too, but at least they have their two guys and they're pretty much got a stranglehold on it.
So
And then go
um,
ahead.
if you were gonna have any of the receivers just this year alone out of this five, DK Metcalf, Waddle, Smith, Mooney, or Kirk, who would you want?
So
It's
wow.
actually I didn't do this on purpose, but that's actually a pretty good. It's a good range of guys, right? Like for this year alone, and then Dynasty as well. It's kind of pretty interesting. They're all about the same age.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, your boy Mooney was in a monsoon. We can't even analyze that game.
Yeah.
I don't even like making any assumptions. He played 90% snaps. Next guy was in Quantus Brown at 76, and then Pettis at 40. Like, he's the dude.
Well, we
Like,
know
period.
that Metcalf, Mooney, and Kirk are their number ones on their team. Waddle and Smith are their number twos, and that's unquestionable. I mean, like it's just. I mean, I don't. You can say whatever you want to say. Waddle led the league or set a record in rookie receptions last year, and he had 5 targets in the first game. He's not going to get the same amount of target share that he had last year. So I mean, like you have that there's automatic regression coming that way unless he can have explosive plays like he did in this game. And that could be the difference, right? I mean, there'll be better games. He's going to have games where he has 8 to 9, 10 receptions. I can guarantee it. Um, but Metcalf
I mean,
has questions at quarterback, right? Like in that offense in general. Mooney has questions at quarterback for some people, and then offense in general. Smith, like kind of same situation as Waddle, right? Like it's just a very interesting group of receivers.
so I'm going to go out on a limb and say Christian Kirk for the specific reason. Every single team we looked at is only running two wide receiver sets, which means they're a running team. Okay. It means they're a fucking running team. It means
Mm-hmm.
their coaching staff is not give a fuck about passing as of now. Again, the Bears probably my number two might be Mooney just because he's getting the majority of the snaps, and then you'll see that's gonna matter when the conditions are good. Unless they just focus on shutting him down, then it could be a problem. But the wide receiver, like you would Christian Kirk, Zay Jones, and Marvin Jones were all over 80%. Okay. And there's almost a 300% total snap count between wide receivers, which means they are running three wide receiver sets, which means they are trying to pass the ball. They're trying to air it out. They're trying to let Lawrence cook. The other teams are not trying to let their quarterbacks cook. So if you were wanting to bet on any of these to continue with any consistency,
That's
like,
interesting. Yeah.
yes, Tua look bad, but why the fuck are they running two wide receiver sets? Like,
Yeah.
just if you want it, the answer is they don't trust him. To me, like, we're gonna run the ball. You have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, and you're just gonna focus on running Chase Edmonds. Fucking RIP Miami. Like, I don't even understand it. And they got to win, right? They
Yeah.
looked decent. But you want fantasy out of Miami, man, go somewhere else. I just don't see it, man.
It's just going to
Like,
be inconsistent, I would say, week to week. I mean, the backfield,
well,
wide
I'm
receivers. I just,
yeah, my point is just Chris, it's gonna be inconsistent with Christian Kirk. You're gonna see Marvin Jones and Zay Jones big games, but you like to see a team that's focusing on throwing to wide receivers,
yeah.
right? When you're playing three wide receiver sets, you're committed to it. That's
So
that's
you're saying,
why
yeah,
out of all those, it's insane, but I think it's Christian Kirk
that's,
because of the
I think that's
opportunity.
sound analysis. I think that's interesting.
I would have never said that before I looked at these snap counts right now with you, though. Like, as you were going through, I just it just jumped out at me. I just didn't realize I'd make sense for Seattle because of how much they pass to the tight end.
mhm.
And again, I think Metcalf can definitely be tops of
Yeah,
all
and
the
I was
guys we're
wrong.
talking
Metcalf
about.
only had 7 receptions on 7 targets. 12 was the amount of targets that Tyreek Hill had.
Yeah,
So
yeah, man.
I you say Kirk. I'll just take the consistency of DK Metcalf. I think he has a high floor and and a kind of a limited ceiling, but his ceiling's as good as anybody else's
It's a
on
good
that
choice
list.
with how good Geno Smith looked, man. I mean,
Yeah,
like, again, like just because there's two guys getting all the work doesn't mean they're not going to get fed. My point is you're talking about again on narrative street of what to analyze out of this is there's a team who wants to play fast pace and pass a lot, which is the Jags, and then there's four teams who clearly want to lower the pace, make it slower, and run the ball. And
yep.
so you just got to pay attention to that stuff when you're looking for fantasy joints. If anything, I would take out of this as well is like, hey, Zay Jones and Marvin Jones are going to be really good assets.
Yep, I agree. Well, buddy, that's the end of the road for us on this wonderful first week session. I'm glad that we're doing this on a regular basis. We're going to try to do Friday mornings for everybody. That way we can recap the Thursday night game briefly, talk about games before they come up. We'll kind of continue with a couple of these segments and kind of throw some other new ones out there. We're always going to make it snappy, clear, and concise because that's what we do, because that's all the work we put into this, hours and hours prior to recording. So you can obviously, tell that we're dedicated soldiers to this craft. Also, I'm going to share a link on the message boards for your $15 monthly fee to Ben's snap count assessment, which I think will be good for the overall, maturation process
That's
of
not
this.
coming out on Tuesdays. I'm not giving every motherfucker my waiver wires. The only people watching this is our fucking league. I'd just be shoot myself in the foot. You guys get it Wednesday at 4 p.m., 5
There you
p.m.
go.
on the
I
dot.
like it. Last but not least, again, this goes without saying, no indictment of Dan whatsoever coming out of me. There's no indictment. Dan has an impossible job to
I think
manage
that's
these
the
leagues.
point.
I think he does an amazing job with like all the resources that he has at his disposal. I think we just need to create more more resources for him. So again, Dan, nothing personal if you're listening, buddy. We love you. We think you do an excellent job. I think we can make things a little bit tighter, so we alleviate any concerns. That's all I got. What you got left for me, Ben? Anything?
We're coming for the Jean-Francois fucking Eagles this Monday night. I think it's going to be very nice. I think Zadarius Smith and Daniel Hunter going to face fuck that Jalen Hurts and make him never want to run again for the rest of his fucking life.
That's Monday night. Damn, that's a good game.
Oh, oui.
Wow. I can't wait to watch that one and see the chat,
Talk all this shit.
fiery
They'll
chat
mop the floor with us
conversation.
like they always do.
It'll be interesting. Is it in Philadelphia?
I think so. Might
Yeah.
be in Minnesota. I think it's in Philly. But they kick our fucking ass all the time. So I'm just talking.
I'll take the whoever the home team is by -3.
Probably smart. It's pretty close teams. They both look good.
All right. Love you, buddy. Thanks for doing this. We'll see you next week.